was with us at Maidan when other politicians did not come. He came, he was with us, and we hope that he, in new quality as mayor, will be able to achieve what we all expect of him. Vitaliy, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. Many representatives of media. I was at Maidan really from the day one, and I supported the challenge of those who came to Maidan to change Ukraine, to create clear rules of the game, to build modern countries where everyone who lives would be assured of tomorrow. This is a main task of Ukrainians. We understand that today is a very difficult day, and all the events that are happening in the East, everything that happens in our country. Unfortunately, we have inherited a ruined economy, and in very short time, we must do all the efficient steps to return efficiency of our operations, to fill the budget, to make sure that peace and comfort is back in our country. There are many people who are not interested in peace and comfort. They're interested to continue destabilize our situation, but it's another topic, and I'm sure if there are questions to this issue, I will be able to answer. But I'm standing here as mayor of Kyiv, and I would like to make first report about the steps that were made and about the plans that Kyiv community, Kyiv Council has before us. I'm sure these briefings would be regular, and much will depend on the work of our mass media. Transparency, openness, responsibility of the government is a key solution against corruption, which is a main challenge for the future of Ukraine. I would like to report about the first steps. Kyiv City Council made decision on how the leaders of public associations should be elected. You know, we had a meeting of City Council of Kyiv. I'm thankful to Maidan representatives who have vacated Kyiv Council building. We are doing renovations and do everything to make sure that all the officials of Kyiv City State Administration would return to their working places, and all the departments would work efficiently. We had Kyiv council session, and all the council members have received their IDs. Commissions are being formed, and by next session we would have a division of council members by commissions. We'll have Kyiv council secretary elected, and first steps that we made, we have chosen a new order of choosing representatives of the community in economic associations. All previous decisions were made secretly, but from now on it will be done openly, publicly, after discussion at the plenary session of Kyiv Council. Second, we have recalled all representatives of Chernovetsky Popov team. During their time of rule, a city almost lost control over a large number of communal enterprises. We have promised to do this during election, and we have done this by one of first decisions. Third, specially created commission will check every decision, doubtful decisions made during the work of Kyiv Council beginning 2006 by teams of Chernovetsky and Popov. We know that temporary investigation commission of the parliament has worked on the issue. They're were huge piles of complaints, but unfortunately, they did not proceed to investigation and uncovering corruption schemes because Yanukovych team did not want to uncover these corruption schemes. They wanted to own those schemes. And now the new commission will review all those decisions and will return the assets that were unlawfully taken from Kyiv citizens. I personally visited several districts of the city of Kyiv, and I have assigned investigations with unlawful trade near markets, because trade must be systemic, and everyone who sells goods right on the street must leave and go to official markets. We had many complaints from lawful business people on the issue. Unlawful trade, unlawful kiosks are placed near metro, and they actually block entrance to metro. That happened near Lukyanivska station, and I'm thankful to law enforcement in those districts that specifically by Lukyanivska station today, the entrance to metro is free. This is important. The question of small kiosks and tents, trading tents, is a big issue in Kyiv because they're not paying taxes to the budget of the city, and the number of those tents and kiosks is over 20,000. Nobody knows a specific number because they grow as mushrooms in new places when they're removed from their previous locations. We need to create clear, understandable rules for everyone who works in small and medium-sized business. This should not be unorganized, chaotic. I plan to visit every block and district of Kyiv. I will personally check fulfillment of assignments that will be issued to every public servant. I will not relax, and my people will not relax. They will work. We'll need to develop our city as beautiful, comfortable for life, with clear, understandable rules in our city. Also, for Monday, we have initiative. I will gather the collegium of Kyiv city administration, and I will listen to the reports of responsible persons for the state of economy of the city. We'll need to make revision audit, and we'll need to understand what is the state of economy of Kyiv today to uncover all corruption schemes. To start from this point, and in 100 days, in 200 days, in 1 year, we would be able to report to citizens of Kyiv about the budget income, about what we have done. This audit is very important. I also would like to focus your attention on improvement of government efficiency. We'll have to appoint the new chief of Kyiv City State Administration. The acting chief today has wrote a letter of resignation. I think we need a new possibility to appoint leaders in order to organize all the services efficiently and to solve the problems of Kyivites. We'll need to organize effective work in every direction, and a responsible person should be appointed for every direction. I'm sure that in nearest future, the head of Kyiv City State Administration will be appointed by the president. I'd like also to focus media attention on two people who hated Kyiv and Kyivites, Yanukovych and Nazarov. By their decision, they have taken from Kyiv 50% of personal income tax. Kyiv is the only city in Ukraine where this discrimination exception works. I'm sure that we are obligated to, to return justice. The norm where 100% of personal income tax would remain in the city budget. The money of Kyivites must stay in the budget of Kyiv, in the Kyiv city budget. This is very important. These are first steps that I'm sure we must make, because everybody understands in what state Kyiv is, roads are, bridges are. We need to build them. And money of Kyivites must work for Kyivites. They must remain in the city budget. I will address the parliament requesting this specific decision. I will address to Prime Minister and President as well. Many directions, and I can speak for a long time, listing all city problems in Kyiv. The problems of our nation and offers for solutions. But it would be my pleasure to listen to the questions of media representatives, and it will be my pleasure to answer those questions. Please introduce yourself, ask questions. Let's begin from that side, and then we'll move forward and sideways. Anna Rybalka, Channel 5. When fractions in Kyiv Council will begin forming, and how will the situation develop? Next session of Kyiv Council is scheduled for next Thursday, 19th of June. Next Thursday we plan to form fractions, we'll form commissions, and we plan to elect Secretary of Kyiv Council. These are first steps. We'll also form the agenda, in which many questions for immediate resolution would be listed. For a long time, Kyiv Council did not work, and we see that self-governance in Kyiv is destroyed. There are many problems accumulated, and they're not solved for many years. So I speak to the council members and ask them to work as efficient as possible and as often as possible. Maybe we'll make these sessions once a week or once every 2 weeks, as fast as we process the documents necessary for the session. Thank you. Massimo Slovi, New Channel. My question is ecological, not political. In Kyiv, there is a NGO called Operative Rescue Service. This is the only service in Kyiv, a region that gathers mercury thermometers and lamps. They do it free of charge. Half a year ago, they were evicted from the building where they worked, and now all these waste materials could end up at waste sites, and this can cause ecological disaster for Kyiv. They spoke to Popov, Chernovetsky without any result. Can you help as mayor of the city? As mayor of the city, I must help. And I took responsibility to solve the problems in city NGOs. I do not know about this problem, but please address me personally. I will be glad to receive this information, and will look for the ways to solve this problem. What is the situation with Maidan? Have you agreed with the public on when it will be removed? Because we know the position of people who are located there. They don't plan to leave. In what stage is this issue? I want to tell you again, Maidan is not tents. Maidan is not barricades. Maidan is idea, is power of people's spirit, a desire to live in a normal country. I'm sure, if necessary, Maidan will be able to gather if people are not happy by some actions, as that happened before. But today, we need to return to normal life step by step. I'm sure that we'll need to show example to the whole nation. And I'm thankful to Maidan participants and those who have understood my request. And they have freed the Kyiv Council building for Kyiv administration and council. And I will do everything to renew movement through Krishchetik. I'm sure that in no way we will physically oppress the residents of Maidan. This is a question of negotiations. It's a question of agreement. It's a question that must be solved by the people who are there, to give them opportunity and for them to give opportunity for efficient revitalization of city center. I don't want to set dates. I don't want to limit myself. We are talking, we are holding negotiations, and I'm sure step by step we'll be able to enable Kievites to travel through the main street freely. You said that you have removed people appointed by Chernovetsky and Popov. How about people of Bondarenko and the 12th Battalion created by Bondarenko? Who will finance it? What would happen to it, and what would be its assignment? And the third question was your permission about yesterday's topic of freeing Lozinski. What's your opinion? The main thing for Ukrainians, for those who were at Maidan, to protect freedoms and rights of people and the rule of law. So I'm sure that only objective judgment, objective, I would like to underline, would give evaluation to men. The information about freeing Lozinski, who was accused of killing a person, that in 3 years he was freed. Many people in society do not understand it. I'm sure that now the floor is given to media, to journalists. They need to give assessment. What are the reasons for this person to be freed? All the reasons must be reviewed for the court to free this person. That's number one. Second, question about battalion created is not to me. It's a question to Mr. Bondarenko. We must have public bodies, state bodies that will serve in law enforcement, would serve efficiently, and we need to strengthen them to make sure that they do their functions. You can imagine, what if every person starts creating their own battalions? Where will we end up? So we must strengthen military, we must strengthen law enforcement agencies by specialists, by professional people, and this is the main task for our state. Thank you for your question. Questions on the concerning this battalion to Mr. Bondarenko. CDF Germany. We are speaking to many refugees, and they complain that the state does not help them. Those who live in Maidan, those who live in Brovary, what will the government of Kyiv do to help those refugees? Refugees are a big problem today. There are many refugees from Crimea, from south regions. Many refugees come today from the cities of anti-terroristic operation. And just recently I spoke to directors of schools and kindergarten not to make bureaucratic barriers and to accept children of temporarily displaced people, the children from those families that they would receive in their schools and kindergartens. Um, I'm sure that in the nearest time, we need to appoint a specific person in Kyiv City State Administration to work through this direction so people would be able to address this specific person. But unfortunately, today I cannot appoint such people. I'm sure that in the near future we'll have a newly appointed head of Kyiv City State Administration, and that will make the work of the city more efficient. In the near future, I intend to visit housing areas for refugees to control the conditions they live in and to ensure that maximum help from Kyiv government would be provided efficiently. Next question, please. Thank you.
I'll ask the question in English if it's okay. I wanted to stay on the subject of the refugees. The question's been partly answered, but there's a law being brought in to change refugee status. Is that right, by the city? Can you comment on this? And also perhaps some numbers of refugees that have appealed for help from the city.
Питання про зміну статусу біженців на законодавчому рівні і питання біженців.
Much easier to give you an answer for in Ukraine.
I am assured that in city of Kyiv we have powerful potential. I'm sure that today the government has taken responsibility to use the potential. By assessment of different experts, at least 1/3 of budget of Kyiv is in the shadow. This is a big assignment. If we create clear, understandable rules, I'm sure we'll be able to allow investors to enter Kyiv. This is very important. We have all necessary conditions for that, but people need to be assured that their investment would be protected, and until then, we would not be able to do much. I invite all investors to come to Kyiv. I take personal responsibility that your investment would be protected. I am thankful to everyone who would invest into Kyiv. We'll make all conditions to make sure that investors would be able to realize themselves. We'll do everything to make sure that investors would create jobs. This is very important as additional source for the city budget. If investment does not come, then city would not develop. So we need to create everything to make sure that business climate in the city would be attractive to everyone who would like to implement themselves, Ukrainian investors and international investors. Olga Mostecka. The task is to fill the budget, but Kyivbastrans has spent 3 million hryvnias just to remove the paper ads from the walls and from the pillars. I sell my cat, I would give up my dog or rent up an apartment. So maybe city can make free banners for people to locate to place their ads because it's too expensive to post ads officially. Thank you for your question. All the ideas that come in from citizens of Kyiv will study them and will implement them. We'll study also the experience of our international partners from other countries that have faced similar problems and have successfully solved the problems. Talking about money spent, I have told you one of the main tasks today is to fill in the budget. It would allow the city of Kyiv to solve any question. Of course, roads cannot be rebuilt and bridges cannot be built and renovations cannot be done and elevators in the old buildings cannot be replaced without money because for many elevators the service time has already run out. So we need a lot of money and we need to create all necessary conditions for companies to work efficiently. I'd like to underline again, in the near future we'll be able to make financial report on companies, on their profits, and on their expenses. We'll have a special press conference where I'm sure we'll have many facts that would shock many Kyivites on numbers offered by many communal companies. They seem they pretend to generate very little profit, or they are at loss while they could generate huge profits. Next questions. Channel 24. You haven't asked members of the new council members to invest into rebuilding the city council building. Have they started paying, and will there be renaming of Institutska Street? Thank you for your question. I understand this was one of first questions, and we will review this question, whether we will rename a part of Institutska Street into the Street of Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred. There, where people died, where people have laid their lives for better life of their nation. This is very important, and I'm sure that we'll be able to make this decision finally in the near future. Talking about your first part of the question, are the new council members paying for the renovation of the building? I'm thankful to all Kyivites who have donated, even those who are not able to pay. They're willing to do some work on renovation, some small donations. I'm thankful to everyone, all representatives of business who have responded to this request, and I'm sure that in near future we'll be able to complete renovation of Kyiv City Council building. Have new members made donations? Yes, they have, and I made my own donation. In the near future, our goal is to begin our effective work. It can be done, not like today. Representatives of Kyiv City Council are meeting in Shevchenkivsky district. In the Shevchenkivsky district, Podolsky, some other place, they are located all over, and this is not efficient. Our task is to make sure they're in the same building, to make sure our work is effective, and this is a key task, and I'm sure that maybe we have one more month before they can move to the same place. Ukrinform. Looking at worsened economic indicators, are you going to sequester the budget? We'll do everything possible to fill the budget, to cut down all the unnecessary expenses, but this will not touch the families of need, those people who need support of their nation. Look at the price level that we have today, plus inflation. It hurts many people. How can you survive at a pension of little more than 1,000 hryvnias or salary that a doctor or a teacher would receive. People that receive budget salaries of 2,000, you cannot survive. You cannot support your family at this level of salaries or pensions. This is a very important question, and we need to find sources as soon as possible to fill the budget, to go away from corruption schemes. And one of the options, city of Kyiv is the only city in Ukraine that has this tax discrimination. The profit, the tax from personal income of Kyiv citizens is going to central budget, and we are talking about decentralization of the budget. The money of Kyivites should work for Kyiv. About renovations of Kyiv City Council, businessmen, parliament, or the council members, you said we need 30 millions. What is a total amount of donations? 30 millions. I spoke to experts. They said that much money is required. But today, a server room is destroyed. We don't have one computer in the building. And for the building to operate, we need 700 computers. We need to renew destroyed communications that do not operate today. Much work to be done. And I'm very thankful to everyone who helped, who supported. Much must be done. Still, I would not like to focus on specific persons, but will be very thankful if, first of all, council members join the funding. There are many business representatives in the council. I look forward to their support and of them and Kyivites. Today, I'm not ready to talk about amounts. I've just listed the problems that exist and directions that we must cover and renew. Amount already announced. The experts' assessment, rough assessment, is what was announced, but the final cost I will tell you later. As moderator, I'll ask the last question. We need direct foreign investment in Kyiv. IKEA issue in Scandinavia, Sweden, Denmark, they all know about this story, and they believe until IKEA comes into Kyiv, the serious investors from Scandinavia will not enter. I know what IKEA is. This is one of the largest retail networks in the world. I know the story. I personally met with IKEA representative, and unfortunately, through corruption schemes, huge investor who was willing to invest billions of dollars, who was willing to create thousands of jobs in Kyiv, had to leave. They said, in these conditions that are offered, they cannot work in Kyiv. Our key assignment today is to create transparent rules for every Kyivite, transparent, understandable rules for and feeling of protected investment for every investor in Ukraine and internationally. This is a key task for me. I invite every investor, and I take personal responsibility for each dollar of investment coming into Kyiv. We need investment. We need additional jobs. We need to create modern city, comfortable for everybody's life. Those who live in Kyiv and those who come to visit us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. And I'm sure that our communication will be traditional. Once a week, I'll be able to come and tell you what we have done in Kyiv, what are our plans, what are key problems, and what are solutions. Thank you, Vitaliy.